With Astralis seemingly unbeatable at the moment, and Magisk immovable from the pit on Inferno, I thought I'd break down exactly how he holds this part of the map, and then hopefully you guys can replicate some of what he does.
Don't know how to build a team from scratch or find good teammates? DreamTeam.gg, the ultimate team building platform. Find and connect with new players, coaches and teams. Manage and monetize your team. Get on fast track to advance from novice to amateur and, if desired, to professional gamer. Join DreamTeam.gg today.
So Magisk holding the pit, obviously probably one of the best players at the world at doing that currently. So I'm going to break down exactly what he does, some of the approaches he takes. We're going to start off very general in this round, just break down a couple of his very broad tendencies before going deeper and more specific in further clips. So to start off with, often at this balcony area, not really using any utility until he's forced to, depending on where the pressure comes in or brackets or whatever. This scenario, the brackets control comes in quite fast, and he's forced to use a Molotov, especially since Astralis are quite out of position over towards Arch. Very strong face for information. He doesn't always do that, but it's just definitely an option. And then he also nades, then notice he gets the information early on. There was a player here. Let's nade. There could be someone following up. We also just saw a flash come in from Magisk. Again, something you often want from your pit player, especially if you're trying to regain control of this arch side, is that flash over just above Glaive right now. Lets him roll this smoke out with relative confidence. Just makes automatic basically check himself, because Glaive can get out here and really lock this down, at least for the time being. Following this, Magisk only has one smoke left. Very early in the round to actually only have one piece of utility left, but nonetheless he's been forced to use utility by a lot of aggression early on by Cloud9. Now Sean Gears might not like this approach, but he does drop his one way, and he manages to create a whole lot of different angles. I'm going to break this down even further in a second, but this is actually a very common strategy for him. He controls the fight, peeks onto FNS when he feels the timing is there, and then notice this one, he waits for Rush to shoot the player on the site before peeking out and taking him with him. Automatic, last left alive, low HP, that's just a 1v1 fight, not much to break down there. So very broad example, starts on balcony, falls into pit, only uses utility when he has to, often mollying the balcony as he falls away or repositions. Let's talk a little bit more about this smoke we saw Magisk drop in the pit area. Probably one of the most common strategies he uses to hold down the site, and doesn't really use it as a one-way in this scenario, or any scenario really. He uses it more to enable himself to move around that pit area and just stay alive for as long as possible. So notice as Dupree spots the player towards middle, he drops into this more passive setup. Again, quite common to play more aggressive until the contact basically comes in towards brackets and Dupree and Glaive are challenged. As Dupree, or Glaive, sorry, gets taken out, counter utility in for Dupree to move. So he's going to lock down this laneway, so he basically has to worry about one entrance point. Dupree can come over here and try and just get any information if anyone is wrapping just from the Cloud9 teams. That's good information overall. The nade comes in. I just missed it from Magisk, but as that Molotov's fading, very common to nade afterwards, can maybe catch players sitting behind. Now this is when Magisk drops his smoke. And you might think right now, why is he just not smoke off balcony or something? So you can just concentrate on lane and play that together with Dupree. I mean, he could. But what he's doing right now is making it very difficult for himself to die. And Dupree does do a good job in this clip, but Dupree does a good job almost all the time. So he obviously has the luxury of having a great teammate on the side with him. So as this drops, notice it doesn't actually put out the Molotov, but it gives Magisk an avenue of escape right now. So if there's no smoke in this scenario, what happens? The player's coming up lane, just basically shoot him as he's trying to strafe out. Magisk ends up out here somewhere, and he's got two angles to worry about. Both the player in balcony and both the player coming short. Now in this scenario, Magisk did actually come out with his crosshair trained on short because Dupree already got a kill early on, so he wants to create this or establish this crossfire. Otherwise he actually comes out normally pre-aiming balcony, still wins the fight with Rush, and then he swings into where we see the crossfire really become established. Again, a little bit late in this clip that I've chosen, but still there nonetheless. These two players basically looking at each other, very hard for Magisk to be cleared out. Because you can notice as he swings wider and wider right now, even if Automatic was to try and peek him, he's going to get shot in the back by Dupree. Like maybe you could just sit yourself at that pillar almost perfectly, but again, to be sliding yourself in there is really not practical in some kind of hit up onto the A site. So basically Magisk, once he's cleared out and happy that no one's on balcony, again, you're going to have to mix with your timing, so that's just a lot of experience, is he can then crossfire with Dupree, and this is a very strong one. He can stay alive for as long as possible, and basically they can swing together. Dipex does a good job taking out Dupree at the end of this clip. So we already established it's very difficult for a lane player to clear out Magisk. You can see basically you have to come out here and face him like so, but then again, you're exposing yourself to sight, so no player is really going to come out aiming this. That's why that's so powerful, clearing out laneway from the angle Magisk usually plays. The other thing about this strat is where the Molotov lands. So to actually get the Molotov to not get put out by the smoke, you have to Molotov off the left side of pit. So you're going to have to be probably best case scenario, something like that. And you can see even with that spread, it only spreads out to about here. So Magisk can even play, so he's only exposed to the edge of the balcony. So this player doesn't control the fight right now. Magisk can peek whenever he wants. We saw in that first clip, Magisk just didn't peek as that smoke faded, came back, cleared out the player here, waited for Rush to fire at the guy on the side, and then took out him. Or Magisk does fight like he did with Rush, swung out here straight away and took him out. So Magisk is controlling the timings of all these fights. He can fight whenever he wants. And even if the smoke is up and Rush knows, well, we just mollied that. He has to be sitting behind the smoke about here. I'm going to start trying to kill him through the smoke. As soon as that spray comes in, Magisk is just swinging, and then now he has control of the fight because Rush is in the middle of his spray control or whatever. So that's why this smoke is so strong, and you can use it just to stay alive for as long as possible as the pit player. Once you're happy with bulk has been dealt with, you can swing out here, and again, very hard for this player to clear you out because he's exposing himself to any angle such as this on the site. Dupree can even play a different angle like this. Magisk takes the contact, but honestly it works best with how Dupree often plays it, which is an angle like so, because they're just basically perfectly cross-firing with anyone walking onto the site. So that's how the different ways you can play it, and basically the strength of it is Magisk controls the fight. He fights whoever he wants, when he wants, and that's why it's so hard to kill him, and he wins all these duels. Now you're probably thinking, surely he doesn't drop that one way every single round, or just that smoke in general to play around it. And you're right, there's a lot of different situations where he won't drop it. And first, let's just appreciate this Astralis nade. As per usual, I have a few cheeky ones, dealing some chip damage on those guys getting aggressive in the second mid area. Again, basically a different variation to that AWP peek out the window, I guess, early on. I think we also saw actually device peek after that one, just using Magisk as a bit of decoy, him peeking, getting that early pick as well in this round. So there's another little straight in between you can see Astralis like to throw in. And now there are so many different scenarios to this game. I can't break down every single one for you. This is why you guys have to watch demos yourself. My videos should kind of just be like a stepping stone or a building block for you guys. Get the basic information and then know what to look for yourselves. Because I'm going to show you an example right now where Magisk uses this smoke differently to the one way, even though he actually does think about it in this one. And there's so many different scenarios, such as this one right now with Dupree in the pit as well. There's no point him dropping his one way because it kind of just ruins the crossfire. There's no real point in him doing that. They can play together. So this scenario, he'd probably smoke off balcony or smoke off short or smoke off something. Not the setup they end up going with in this one. You see Dupree ends up eventually moving around to the site, as he often does. Second thing to note is Device is quite aggressive in brackets. This is going to be why Magisk uses smoke a little bit differently in this round. And again, this is one of some different scenarios that can occur. So as Device ends up getting this opening information and actually a pick in this one, it's going to prompt Magisk to use his smoke differently because they still have control of this brackets very late in the round. So notice Magisk actually smokes off that choke point. So now Device can look at the different choke points. He's now got this smoke. So he has a huge advantage on Skadoodle, trying to push through the smoke dry on this one. Device can adjust to this information to take out Rush because he's clearly wall hacking through the box. He just did miss a shot, but everyone should just report Device just in case because we know that's definitely him cheating. He takes out that player. Device tries to deal with this, just letting Rush out, but Magisk has had enough and takes out that player as well. So that's a good scenario, good example as to how Magisk uses his smoke late in a round. Still 25 seconds left, but because Device has that early information, smoke off this choke point, give himself the advantage on anyone coming up short. Device can swap onto site and now AWP that line towards balcony. And again, one choke point watched very successfully, and just another example of when you can use your smoke. On occasions, Magisk will start towards B, just as that early B presence. See, they've left Zipex here by himself. This one go for that early deep banana controls. That's what you're seeing right now. But he rotates back on over here, and he starts to reassume his position in pit, as we often see him do, but then something changes in a second. And one thing you might not notice about those previous clips, especially when Magisk drops that smoke at his feet in the position right now, is they always have some kind of arch presence or some information. Even that round where Dupree quickly snuck over and had a look down there, see if anyone was wrapping onto the site before moving back to set up for their hold. Because obviously with this crossfire we saw them setting up like so onto the lane players, if someone does just wrap and shoot Dupree in the back, this crossfire is kind of done. Magisk is in a very difficult place. So notice in this round, as Astralis obviously decide this brackets control is a bit of a fake, especially after Glaive just has a little check, doesn't see anything, they think it's going to be a B hit, especially since Zipex just got flashed off the position on the half wall over at B. So this setup is the most common one from Magisk and Dupree when they left two players on the A site, whether this is because a pick went down, they think the setup's going to come in soon, or they just want to play a more B heavy presence as they saw they were going to in this scenario. This is what they do. It's a very common crossfire. You guys can see how it works. Dupree's just going to watch this line. He has to win his fight. Magisk watches this way. He can see both balcony and short in this scenario. So they just have to win their fights. And again, it's not perfect. It's not as good as other setups. But if you're going to run just two players over here towards A, this is one of the best you can do. And it's just a crossfire where they don't always win their fights. There's rounds where they lose. But if you win them, you're in a great scenario to potentially delay. And especially in this scenario, since there was some information grabbed, Device is able to rotate in over here. You can see his he adjusts pretty well. Molotov off that scenario, wants to make sure no one's wrapped, so he comes back, and that's the reason these players are still left 2 players on the A side itself. When you see this hold comes in, I already explained how it's very easy just to crossfire. You do have to win your fights. See Dupree jiggling right now, playing with device when information he has. This round though, I picked it because I think you guys understand that crossfire, it's very basic. But even if they do smoke themselves off and you don't have this crossfire anymore, if you just hold off the A side itself, there's nowhere left for Liquid in this scenario to play after plant. You see, they're all forced to try and fight right now, and all the kills go the way of Astralis, because this is a very... you have a huge disadvantage trying to wrap around the site this way, especially if the CTs know you're not going to wrap through site this way. So I don't really like this smoke personally. I always prefer to leave that open because it creates more avenues onto the site, because you need this for after plant, but that's just me personally. But very simple crossfire, you can see how it works, just denying any information on the site itself, or the crossfire comes in and you have to win your fights earlier on, just those 2 fights either towards arch or short. That's really about it, guys. There's a whole other different ways they hold. I can't go through every single one. Watch Magisk demos yourself. I definitely recommend it. And of course, if you do like my videos, think they're a good stepping stone, make sure to subscribe to my channel and maybe even like the video. I'll see you guys all in the next one.